Okay, I'm going to make a short video describing my leg experiment status, the current situation, tactical situation with my two-servo, two-dimensional XY coordinate leg experiment. So I have, here's my hardware, and this potentiometers, although it's plugged into this board, they're not a part of today's description. They're not in the code. They are for the next phase of the coding. I will also, I don't have it here, try to use a joystick. But the joystick is a little more complicated. So the easiest thing will be to use these potentiometers. But I will not discuss that in any more length, possibly a short little snippet at the end of my video. Here is the code. This is the whole code for the experiment, and this is an accompanying code which I had to use to verify some things about this code and to figure out where some of my problems were coming from. So the actual code is in here, this void loop. That's basically everything right here. And what is significant about my experiment is that I've managed to successfully code these equations, which I took a long time to figure out, and understand what the equations were doing and what I needed to do. Here, these little degrees, being degrees A, in order to translate the equations output into the degrees that it takes to drive the servo motors. To the various degrees. So first I'll introduce this. All this little code here does is I write between 0 and 180 here, and it will then send those values as a degrees to the hip and knee servos, and it will position the leg. So here I'm going to go plug in my Arduino, and I've been experiencing a couple of little difficulties associated with errors from uploading too many codes and losing the connection. So here I'm uploading these new degrees. Now the angles are just a little bit off because I'm using cardboard, nothing is that precise. And it's uploaded, and now it's at this new angle. So 0 degrees is here for this appendage, and 0 degrees is here for this appendage. So I'm at about 75 degrees here, and then I'm at about 95 degrees here. Now I don't know how to put those coordinates in here. Instead, we'll use these coordinates, which are negative 100 and 30. Now 30 will importantly be below the x-axis, whereas negative 30 is up here because 0 angle is pointing down on that servo, which was something that took me a little while to figure out exactly what was going on. So with this code, the data that I entered was the actual angle of the servos. With this code, I'm entering this XY coordinate where the x-axis is here, 0, negative x, positive x is not available for this video, and then negative y is up, which is inverted, but that's because I have the other angle. So here I'm going to upload this code. Hopefully this works. and we will see that it programs the kinematics. And now we're at this new angle where I'm about 10 millimeters below this line, which I am, and I'm about 100 millimeters this way from the middle of this servo. And so actually the line is a little higher than this bar because the servo is mounted on top of it. So I want to be a little farther away. So I'm going to say 150 millimeters away from the servo, and I want it to be lower because I'm climbing something. And so I'm going to say 60 millimeters below Y. So it's inverted. In here I made this note. Assuming servo hip is oriented 0 straight down, 180 straight up, Y is inverted. So negative Y is above the X-axis. That note is obviously not part of the programming. That's just for people who read it. And then I'll try to upload the program again. And it should assign the new location to the foot. We see that I'm waiting on this compilation. Sometimes what I have to do is close the program and reopen it if I upload too many programs to the... Almost done uploading. Now we saw that my servo is kicking back and forth. I think this servo is bad. Sometimes it just goes wild. It's not doing it for me right now. And it just goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Here, we're doing it for me. Sometimes this happens. But you saw before that it was actually also able to periodically just kind of maintain a location. So because this is just a servo experiment servo, I have 12 good servos over here. I hope they're good of this other kind. And my ultimate robot will be built out of those fresh servos. I also have a backup of this servo in case I decide that I want to switch it out. So now this foot should be 150 millimeters this way from here. So I don't have my ruler, and it should be 60 millimeters below that point on the X-Y axis, which it looks pretty close. And so that's my very successful experiment where I had so many problems writing this equation correctly because I don't know anything about coding. And one more thing that my code does so that you can verify things is it serial prints the angle, which right now is only printing the same angle over and over again because nothing changes, because you have to re-upload the program every time you change the XY axis. But next up, I will map X and Y values to the voltages given by the changing of the potentiometers, so that at 0 volts, maybe, if I have both potentiometers turned all the way down, I'll try to have my foot maybe all the way down here. And then turning the potentiometer up with this part will kick it up. Or maybe it'll be here and all the way curled up, or I don't know, because it's an XY, so it'll probably be all the way down here. And then turning them both up will send the foot as far as it can go out here. So then the bottom will be the bottom, and here will be the other bottom.